I knew that my marriage would be, I mean, I knew that it wasn't perfect. I knew that there would be two different personalities that came into it. And there would be some give and take and some negotiations and some compromises. I mean, I think I expected little hiccups along the way. I don't think that I expected quite the bumps that I got sometimes. When I very first found out about it, it was really early on. It was shocking to me. It wasn't characteristic of the person that I had married. That just wasn't a side of him that you ever would have guessed. His cycles were so long that there were long stretches of great intense happiness in our relationship where I never would have guessed that anything would ever go awry again. It took years and years and years of these extremely long cycles for me to actually sit back and realize that there was actually addiction in our life, that it never would have crossed my mind if I hadn't looked back over this period of time and realized how many times it came up, that if I'd never seen the cycles, these long cycles, that I never would have termed these isolated events as addiction. But I think that we'd gone through enough cycles by then that like this light bulb had gone off at that time for both of us, and we went, oh, this isn't just a problem that we can pray away. This is something that will take external help. This isn't something that we can do on our own. I think it made me realize that the direction my marriage goes is not under my control. That with another person and another choice involved, then the only thing that I can really know for sure is what I'm gonna do. That I can't ever know what they're gonna do. I realized that he had the ability and the capacity to make choices that were not in line with what I would have done, I lost stability in my marriage. I lost, a sense of security in this realm that I had always felt secure in. There's no way to not feel like you caused this, that you weren't enough for your spouse. I mean, he was always enough for me, so if he's making these choices, then that must mean that, I wasn't enough for him. I don't think there's any way to not feel that. But I think after you learn the true nature of addiction and what really causes it and what the real underlying reasons for it are, then you come to find out that this has absolutely nothing to do with me and everything to do with faulty ideals that he's been taught, and that it doesn't change what he feels for me. It just changes how deeply he can feel for me due to the nature of the addiction. But that has nothing to do with me or my worth. When I started to read the numbers and realized just how many women are affected by this, I'm blown away. I mean, it's hard to not look around and wonder how many women are out there that are suffering and still feeling like this is their fault, that they were not enough, and that's why this is happening. And it's hard not to go and look for those women and wonder who just needs a friend to say, this has nothing to do with you. We feel like if we talk about it, then somebody's going to think it's my fault, that they're going to immediately assume that it is because I wasn't enough in some way for my husband, or because we feel like they're going to judge our husbands. And they're not bad people. They're good guys that just made a bad mistake. And if we tell somebody that we're suffering and we're having a hard time, then they're going to think that he's this horrible monster. They're not going to imagine this good person that just was not loved and taught healthy ideals as a child, and so they don't know how to deal with life. I felt validated. I felt like all of the feelings and the extreme emotions and the roller coaster of days that I was going through was totally normal, that it was okay for me to feel that way. There was nothing wrong with me feeling that way. And it let me know that I could work through that and I could process that and I could lean into the pain and push through that, and that life could be good again, because there were all those people that had pushed through it before me and their life was good. And so it gave me hope to know that I wasn't crazy, there was nothing wrong with me, and that I would be happy again. And once I opened up to one person and saw how that worked, I realized that there was a whole community of people out there that could understand me in a way that nobody else could, because they're feeling it, they felt it, they've been there, and that was invaluable to my healing. I knew that what I was feeling wasn't healthy and that I needed somebody else to walk me through it. So the first place I turned was a friend, and then it quickly became apparent that that was helpful and that is what I needed. And so I turned to my family, and slowly I started to, one by one, talk to them and get love and support from them. And then during that process, I realized that there was this whole huge community out there. And so I found a blog, and then I found websites, and then I found forums, and I mean, one by one thing led to the other. I knew that I could weed it out later and figure out what I needed personally later. But at first, I knew that I just needed to do everything that I could so that I could find what I needed and what worked for me. I think the first thing that you have to work on is your own personal recovery. You've been dealt this huge trauma in your life. You're never going to be able to work on your relationship or anything until you kind of find your own footing, until you figure out who you are and what really defines your worth. To do that, you have to change the things that you can and let go of the things that you can't, and work on taking care of yourself and valuing yourself and reaching out for help when you need help. And then you can start working on your relationship with your spouse, as long as he has worked on his own personal relationship with himself first too. I think that what's helped me the most is just figuring out what defines my worth. And in order to do that, I can't really pinpoint it's because I reached out to friends, or because I did this program, or because I worked on 12-step. I don't think that there's any one isolated event that led to that. I think that all of those things kind of came together and helped me figure out what made me important, and to kind of separate that from this addiction that was present in my life. I think that I am amazing, and that these challenges that have been present in my life have absolutely nothing to do with me, and they really have nothing to do with the worth of my husband either, that he is absolutely amazing too. But I have confidence that we are moving in the right direction, and that we are happy today, and that we will continue to just become more and more happy as we move in the direction we are going. I recognize that I have no control over that, and at any time my husband could make a choice that throws us off that path, that the only thing I have control over is the direction that I personally head. But I find hope in the direction that we're both heading at this time. It's okay if you don't know the direction that you need to go, that there are lots of women out there that have walked through the same path that you are walking. You are not alone, and it's okay if you don't have all the answers. It's okay if you make mistakes along the way. It's okay if you are betrayed or sad or upset. It's okay to feel that. It's okay to not hate him, and it's okay to hate him. That it's okay to feel how you're feeling and to not have all the answers, but you will find them as you reach outside of yourself and you look to people that are there to love you and support you, whether they've walked this path or whether they haven't. And you can turn to them and they can help you in your darkest hour to help find your path. I think that in 10 years we will have been refined by this challenge, and that we will be closer than we ever were before, that we will be able to use the things that we are learning about our own individual worth, and that will strengthen our relationship together. It will strengthen the way that we parent. It will strengthen the way that we are with our friends, that it will just strengthen us as people, and that it will refine us, and it will help us to become the best version of ourselves.